And now it's official. What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? It's 420 in California. This is Reefer Revolution Live.
But I think in terms of marijuana, and legalization, I think that should be a state issue, state by state.
I think it's up to the states, yeah. I'm a states person. I think it should be up to the states, absolutely.
You know, I know people that are very, very sick, and for whatever reason, the marijuana really helps.
For whatever
them.
reason.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
Well, Reefer Revolutionaries, the federal government actually might think it's up to the states. At least that's what some officials said this week. As more Arizona caregivers are looking to CBD and THC to, guess what? Help dementia patients. Meanwhile, Thailand seems to have things straight as Thai state hospitals have started distributing cannabis oil that they've made from confiscated cannabis. What an idea. Who thought of that? Just say no to the new industry-backed marijuana legalization measure in Florida. Cannabis Sativa talked about that this week. Bernie's calling for legalization.
I'm all in. This is the time to go all in on cannabis.
Bernie's all in. But so is Blumenauer.
The issues dealing with cannabis are on the right track. We can get it wrapped up this Congress, maybe even this year.
Do you think the U.S. will feel that pressure if Mexico does indeed go forward? Canada's already...
Well, we feel it now. I mean, the voters in over 2/3 of the states have already acted. They're not waiting for the federal government. We have 12 states that are adult legal. We have 47 states that have some form of cannabis, medical is available. So the voters are moving. It's time for the federal government to catch up with banking, with research, and ultimately legalization.
What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? It is indeed 420 in California. I'm Dave Conan, and this is Reefer Revolution Live, the show where we spark up. Talk about the cannabis news, the politics of pot, marijuana, and the mainstream media. And when I say we, of course, I mean my partner in all things life and cannabis, Coach Chela. Hi. Happy Sunday. Woo-hoo. Whirlwind Sunday, whirlwind week. Lots of amazing things. What's up, everybody? People jumping in the chat. Small Tubes jumped in pre-show today, making sure Small Tubes jumped in first. Welcome. Jake Free.Ante over on Facebook. Folks over on Facebook. 420 Fred, Jocelyn Russell, Dab of Cannabis 420 over on D-Live watching. MDM Niles watching with Jake over on Facebook. Ellen Blasey, hi from Eldred, New York in the Catskills. Awesome. Debbie D and Ugly Adams. Ugly Adams coming back from Walking the Princess, joining the show. What's up? Michigan, Flint, Michigan. Looks like the growing list of water problems around the country. You're not alone, Flint. Apparently you're not alone. But you certainly are at the head of the spear as far as that goes. Yes, our Debbie D, our babies are getting big, folks. We got the Grow Cam in effect. Patreon patrons can watch the Grow Cam live if you're so inclined. But we'll be checking in. Yes, they're even so much bigger even than last week. They really are taking off in under that HLG 100. We got very variable conditions in this tent, swinging from very dry to very humidity was like 80% this morning. But they seem to be thriving. That Blue Skittles and Skywalker, a couple of clones we picked up that did survive. The first one, the other one did not survive one day. But Blue Skittles making a run. Blue Skittles making a big comeback, making a run at Skywalker over there. Super excited. The race in the tent. And then, of course, yes, don't worry, Jilly Love, if you jump in the chat here pretty soon. We do have the bigger girls, the toddlers over here. We have Skunk number 1 and Green Crack over here. This is Between Two Herbs show. And they are outside normally. We bring them in on Sunday at around this time anyway because the sun is starting to dip and we're just letting nature take their course. These, of course, Mel Frank helped us plant all of these great, beautiful, wonderful plants that we have because it's 2019. And if you're not growing cannabis, especially in California, you are not a revolutionary. So we figured if we're going to be reefer revolutionaries, we need to start growing because, even though it's legal in California, it's more illegal now that it's legal in many respects. 80% of California, of course, not allowing commercial cannabis of any kind. Hi, Chela. What's going on in the chat? Anything else? Dr. Barry Gordon, I just saw jumping in. Whoop, whoop. Oh, my, we are going to CanMed. That's news. Oh, really? Oh, they're making it? They're making it to CanMed? Holy criminy. Fantastic. We do have press passes for CanMed. Right. Well, perhaps we can find some backup here to help you out. Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully, interview with Elvis could happen on Monday. Yeah, if we get the specific, and when I speak of Elvis, you know of who I speak.
Elvis is going to be at CanMed.
Yes.
And by Elvis, we mean Dr. Raphael Machula, the discoverer of THC.
I just know a cynical girl just jumped. Just look what the cat dragged in. Cynical girl. An OG from back in Bernie TV days. Thanks for joining the show. Technobiscuit. Phil Britton back. Awaiting new FM transmitter from China. Nice. Get you up to 4.5 miles. Of course, Pirate Radio. Broadcasting Reefer Revolution live from Colorado. You're still in Colorado. You're in, shoot, the name slips my. Remind me, Phil, what town are you in? In broadcasting in 2 square miles, which we always appreciate. Hey, so great. What a great group of folks jumping in the chat today. We did have an excellent, awesome interview with Dr. Mike, a.k.a. Technobiscuit, which you can watch on the channel. It's a separate, pulled it out as a separate interview, and you can watch that. We had a great talk about Florida. Florida in the news again this week, guys. If you didn't catch, I don't know if Cannabis Sativa has jumped in the chat yet, but I Am Cannabis Sativa podcast, of course, is awesome. And when he jumps in, make sure you go over and subscribe to his new YouTube channel, which he's putting up his podcast on YouTube. And he this week discusses the Florida trap. That is, we're going to talk about it a little bit here. The industry-backed measure to legalize recreational cannabis in Florida. It's a trap. It's a tarp. No, because you won't be able to use, you have to use a tarp to make your grows happen because you won't be able to grow if that law passes. No home grow. If it ain't got home grow, it ain't legal. That's bottom line. So, there's competing, ballot measures going up in Florida. They might both make them onto the ballot. I don't know how that works in Florida, but if they both make their signatures, maybe they'll both be on the ballot. And there's one called MILF, which I guess we'll get into, about what but that's the one we don't want. And the one we do want is the, safer marijuana, I think. Maybe, both Technobiscuit and Dr. Barry could, chime in. Because we talked about that with Technobiscuit last week briefly, talking about recreation legalization, coming in its effect on patients in Florida and the medical system, which is, no great system, but at least they got one and you can smoke now, which apparently is the best way to take care of pain with cannabis, Chela.
That's what they're saying.
Did you hear that?
I heard that.
People are saying it, Chela. People are saying it.
I'm hearing it. I wish I could get my sister to partake in it.
Good people.
She has chronic pain, but she refuses to smoke cannabis.
Apparently, it's the fastest and most effective 30% decrease in pain. In the anecdotal, what they was real world, aka real world studies, are anecdotal studies, as opposed to the FDA approved studies with the Mississippi ditchweed. This is actual real studies, with people that we'd like to be able to do with the FDA with real good cannabis. And of course, that effort continues, waiting on the DEA. Their clock is ticking with having to answer the courts in determining why they aren't approving DEA licenses to grow, Sioux Cicely being one of them, along with about 24 others, and to get some real good research cannabis and get some real evidence, like a 30% reduction in pain from a scale, 3 points on the pain scale, with smoked cannabis. Of course, no studies have ever been able to prove that smoked cannabis is dangerous. They just rattled as a matter of fact, there's studies that prove
to anyone about anything.
What's that?
To anyone about anything, even pregnant people. Studies that adjust for confounders, like alcohol or tobacco use. Studies that take those people out of the mix and only talk about cannabis use among pregnant women also have found no problems. So that's interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, you had a whole discussion with the society one week about pregnancy and because of all the reefer madness.
Yep.
Meanwhile, in Missouri this week, the doctors are able to use cannabis for pregnant women. Recommend it. So, more crazy making going on.
Well, that whole story is really kind of reefer madnessy, despite the decent title. That title grabs you and sucks you in, and then it's all reefer madness, the whole rest of the story.
Right. Well, they certainly don't discuss the ancient use of cannabis with pregnancy, historically, found in caves in Israel. Women in Jamaica use it regularly for during pregnancy and during delivery. It's just the real evidence. On the ground evidence is out there if you can get past the propaganda. I rewatched, and we're not going to watch any of it, but the Joe Rogan Crenshaw segment about cannabis, and boy, what a piece of work that guy is. He's bought and sold stats CIA or something, I don't know, but Joe just took him to lunch around cannabis and legalization and its benefits. So if you can look beyond that stuff, you will, even Mo, Cynical Girl. If you can look beyond the propaganda and get through that veil and actually see the evidence, of how it was used historically before Prohibition, and how Prohibition, another story in the Chronicle this week. Let's get into the news, guys. We've got some, Reefer Revolutionary video to show for you, this week from, Flocana, as well as we're going to check in on some of the activity of Grow Sisters, some revolutionary growers, small growers, playing the game, if you will, of tax and regulate in California, but trying to keep it the heart of cannabis intact, heart and soul of cannabis, really.
Yeah.
Found in Mendocino and Humboldt County. And both Flocana on a larger scale, working with the California way, working with smaller farmers to a large degree, and then smaller independent farms, also empowering other independent and family farmers like Grow Sisters. So on both ends of the spectrum there, we're trying to keep these families together, these the towns and communities were built and funded. The propaganda, speaking of the propaganda, films like Murder Mountain, that look at, some terrible and negative aspects of how this industry found its way, or is finding its way, is countered by, media that is being developed by cannabis companies, cannabis growers themselves, Green Flower Media, one of the most reputable sources for content and education around cannabis. They are expanding their media footprint to provide more education and more. We're doing our best. And since I'm talking about us, subscribe, get notifications, do whatever you're doing on whatever platform you're on, because we are multi-streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, and DLive. So wherever you are, say hi in the chat. It'll pop up hopefully along the bottom and I can see it. We'll talk about what you want to talk about this week. But if you want to follow along and find out what we're going to talk about during the show on Sundays, every Sunday at 4:20, ring that bell for when we do go live for other times, because we do occasionally when exciting things are happening, like hearings or or stuff like that. And when those exciting things, or what's that, or if we go out to a cannabis, a super cool cannabis event or coverage, like State of Cannabis, or
a launch party for a Psychedelics magazine.
Is that coming up?
September 14th.
Fantastic. The launch party for
Double Blind.
Double Blind. That's totally cool.
Fresh, brand new in the chat. I mean, brand new, not in the chat, in my email, just dropped in. Very excited about it.
That's super cool.
And also, Double Blind has just launched their online magazine as well.
Oh.
So you guys should check that out.
Yeah.
Literally, I just found out, or else we'd have it ready for you.
And that is, they basically cover psychedelics. The new, it's back. Mm-hmm. Psychedelic research is back, guys, and it's going to be amazing. Amazing. It's already happening with psilocybin on many levels, with trials and decriminalization across the country. Areas like MDMA and even mescaline. It's just there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's very exciting. And to have a new magazine that's covering the pulse of it, that's pretty cool. So that's exciting. Yes, we'll definitely go live from that event, as we will next week, guys. We're going to be on the road next week. We are going to be up in Sacramento doing more interviews for the documentary, with No End in Sight, current working title, about how cannabis helps dementia. We've got a bunch of great interviews in the can, which we're going to start. I promise we're going to start putting up. But we're getting lots of we got lots of great material, and we're going to get more and more of it up, and we're going to get some more. Really excited about the interviews we have for next week up in Sacramento. A couple of facilities that are actually using cannabis medicine with their residents, and for some time now. Some of them. And big facility, small facility, and it's all going to be part of this documentary, and you guys are all going to be brought along for the ride as we do it. So that to say that next Sunday's show will be a show on the road. We will be checking in from the road. Will probably not be a full show, but who knows? I'm taking the rig. Maybe we can. We know we're going to be at 420. Probably on the road.
We're probably going to be in San Francisco at one of the dispensaries that allows consumption. Maybe Urban Farm, maybe Moe's. Who knows where we're going to be?
Yes, Moe's or maybe Urban Farm. We'll check in from there. Maybe even do an abridged show from one of those locations, because we've been invited to possibly do that. So maybe we can. Maybe we'll do that. But anyway, that's for next week. We are talking about this week's news, and there was no lack of news this week, guys. Certainly, and you can keep track of all the news that we find throughout the week over on my Twitter page, which is at DC420LA on Twitter. That's where I do my tweeting. I don't know where you tweet, but I'm on that really shitty looking platform now called Twitter. So not only are this Twitter, just the people are terrible, and mostly it's the platform is just getting worse and worse. But apparently it's the only place you can tweet. So that's where I tweet, at DC420LA over on Twitter. Now, Chela,
I just can't get down with it, man.
Which? The social media?
The Twitter especially. It's just so... I just can't. There's hardly... I mean, I just don't... There's so many that you have to, And it's easy to cross-post from Instagram to Facebook,
Yeah, but Facebook's even worse, especially around cannabis.
But if I just do one, it can do to the both, and I don't have to do all the things, and I find that when I'm posting to one... I get fucking sucked in.
I know. Well, that's what they get you.
And then I'm there for hours, and I don't want to do that. I just want to make a quick post, get in and out, and get out of there, because I got other shit I got to do.
It's like the mafia. Once that you think you're out, but then they suck you back in. People go, I'm going away from Twitter for a while. And it's 24 hours later, they're back.
Don't ever make announcements about leaving.
You think this is a gateway drug. Oh my God. It's the endorphins that get released from the little likes, from the likes and the blue hearts and all that stuff.
Brian Arbor, to answer your question, the reason we do not have Super Chat is because cannabis cannot be monetized on YouTube.
It's very difficult. Plus, we also report on news. So we show clips, and they don't like clips.
Well, even if we kept it that's another one of the reasons why we have it separated into this part of the show and then the afterburn.
Right.
Because the afterburn are the clips, and this part of the show is just the cannabis part.
Yeah,
so,
and they get, even though it's fair use, they get popped all the time for, or they'll, somebody like Joe Rogan monetized. I did that clip. I played a clip from Bernie Sanders on Joe Rogan. He monetized me. He monetized my video, but I can't monetize my video. So, YouTube they all have their nonsense. If you do want to contribute, you can do so on Steam Labs, Reefer Revolution, and I'll drop that link in the chat, and also over on Patreon. We do have a Patreon account, and you can be an OG 420 patron for $1 a month, and then you get we put up extra long versions of interviews and streams, and the Grow Cam is up there right now, and we're going to be dropping more additional stuff for there too to try to make it even more worth your while. But like Phil Britton says, this is one of the best cannabis news programs on the web. But don't tell anybody, because then we get a bunch of freaking trolls.
It's our secret, guys. I'm a behind-the-scenes person. I don't actually like when people are watching and stuff. So
we have like we love our chat. Our chat is so quality.
This is great, really
and
quality.
Good information.
Like look, Bingus right now, for instance.
Hi, Bingus.
You can support DC 420 here. Become a patron for as little as $1 a month on Patreon. Right there. Thank you, Bingus. You're the best.
But definitely share the broadcast. We do, we have a lot going on. We have numerous projects in various stages of development. It's all very exciting. Chela's rockets just keep landing. And what are you going to do? You have to pick them up. You have to catch them. And you're not ready unless you're ready. And when you're ready, you get stuff you're ready for. So we're ready. But I'm not ready to put up a lot of more clips right now. But so I don't know. I guess I say all this.
We need a local editor, somebody on the mountain.
A local
preferably.
editor might be nice.
Somebody on Mount Washington, preferably somebody who really understands cannabis as medicine. Preferably somebody who's had some life experience with it. That's another rocket that I'm launching.
Another
right
rocket
now.
you're launching. Well, another rocket just landed that's been launched. I'm starting another gig too next week too. So
that's true.
But we do. I guess what I'm saying is I love collecting the news. We love finding it. It informs our other work that we do as far as writing and making films and helping people. Educating people about how to use the medicine, appropriately in this lack of research environment. So if you want to support us on Patreon or Steam Labs, that would be cool. Yeah, because YouTube won't let us do it. It'd be great. Hey, listen, I'd love to get, but not really. YouTube takes 30%. Okay, which is Google, and they take 30%.
Wow.
So it's it's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword. But I like our chat. Our chat is great. As soon as you get a few hundred people in the chat, it's Troll City, and then it just becomes pandemonium, But hey, we digress. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. Tell your good friends.
Yeah.
Tell your good friends. Tell your good friends about the show. It's a secret. And follow us. And Chela promises she's going to be gramming more. You're getting more gram proficient.
Yeah, well, last week was really hard because I worked on a job that just kept me completely, insanely busy. I'm not going to do that again, yo. I'm not going to take another props job. That's just too demanding. It's too much work.
We do have to pay for our little house, our little cabin in the woods.
We do have to pay for our cabin in the woods. And
all
of our travel.
And our going back and forth to Sacramento.
We're going to Sacramento and Santa Rosa this week, you guys. We're collecting 2 more interviews. We're interviewing 2 different facilities that use cannabis medicine with people living with dementia. One of them's been using it for 2 years, and the old pro has been using it for 15 years. It's so exciting.
Yeah,
and then, of course,
cool.
We're going to meet my sister on Friday night.
Who is moving from Hawaii.
Yes, to Sacramento. Very exciting. So that's cool.
But thank you guys for your support. Follow me on Twitter at DC420LA. Follow the show and Chela over on Instagram at Reefer Rev Show. But the news, it goes out on DC420LA as it happens. And then it gets put into DC420LA, a Cannabis Chronicle, where you can find at DC420LA.com. And we put out one newsletter a week.
No, really you.
Well, we find the news. You find news.
I find news, yeah.
We find news. We put it in the newsletter. We put it out on Sunday, Saturday night, whenever we can push the button. Whenever we can get it together and push the button. Went out at midnight, I think, last night. And these are the stories we talk about during the show. So if you're watching the show after the broadcast, you can follow along over at DC420LA.com, because these stories will be up all week. So let's get into some of these stories, shall we? Let's this Let's start with the big one. The first one, the top of the list. This came over the wire at KJ's. Really, that's an interesting name. No, KJZZ 91.5. This is a public radio station.
I love this story.
In Arizona. And this is put out by the AARP, this story. Tell us this is called, it's called More Arizona Caregivers Looking to CBD THC to Help Dementia Patients by Kathy Ritchie.
Yeah, that came up in because you guys, of course, we all set Google alerts for the news that we're all interested in seeing, and some of my Google alerts include medical marijuana and cannabis and dementia and Alzheimer's, and this story came up is in dementia because they don't say marijuana or cannabis, they just say the compounds.
Oh, that's interesting.
I thought that was a very interesting way to relate this story to a population that might be automatically offended by marijuana or cannabis,
That's fascinating.
Isn't it?
And it's actually it's an audio story. You can listen to it. I'm not going to play it here, but it's not that long, actually. It's pretty
You should play it in the
short.
Afterburn.
Yeah,
I thought it was a news story.
What's that?
It's a news story.
It's a news story.
Video story. Play it in the Afterburn.
It's not a video. It's audio.
I thought it was a video. I thought I
know
saw a
because it
video.
came from a public radio station. And then it's written out here in the basically.
Anyway, just
it's
read the
transcript.
story. It's terrific.
But it is.
I
It's a very.
felt like I saw it.
Really?
Yeah. Anyway, in the break, we'll check it out.
I don't think so. We heard it definitely
Okay.
when I played it. But that's neither here nor there. It is a good story, and it's guess what? The effects are as we have found, and what we are finding in our documentary. Remarkable, quite remarkable, and very similar stories to a story that we are interviewing Gary Beal and his wife, and her story about not being able to get into a facility, but when cannabis was introduced, everything changed, and for the better. So this is work. This does help, despite the Alzheimer's Association's claim that there is no evidence. There's certainly no official studies. But wait, are there official studies, Chela?
Pull out that book. It's behind you. Seriously. I can't reach it. Bottom. Pull it out. Thank you very much. I don't know. Are there?
Well, the Alzheimer's Association says there's no studies
There's no studies.
about
About how cannabis helps dementia? Uh-huh.
binder Chela carries around. Studies.
Yeah.
Cannabis helps dementia.
Yep. Yes, Julie Love, coconut milk is good for dementia. Yes, coconut oil. Coconut oil really does help your brain because it feeds your brain. Dementia, Alzheimer's, it's a very, very complex illness. And cannabis is a very, very complex plant. So I think that while we may not know exactly, and I'm not a doctor, but I think that since we don't know how it's working, we just know that it's working. Primrose in Santa Rosa, like I said, has been using this medicine for 15 years. At any time, they have 40 patients who are living with dementia at their facility, and most of them are using cannabis medicine. So while we only had limited experience, and we're not doctors or clinicians, with my mom and a few other friends, Primrose and the doctors that we're interviewing for the documentary have hundreds and thousands of patients they've seen over the years. So there are lots of people who know this stuff. And now we're going to amplify it and let the whole world know.
And they're actually, and you can find them also on the Society of Cannabis Clinicians website. There are more and more doctors and clinicians, nurses, and other folks that are using the medicine in different states where it's legal, possibly 47 different states where some form of CBD or THC or any combination thereof can be used for Alzheimer's or whatever their list of tyranny has on it. Many expanding, many contracting, which I find fascinating. And also in the Chronicle along that topic is basically, I think, Chela, what your observation on how they are framing the narrative in this article where they don't mention cannabis or marijuana at all, how explaining the benefits of cannabis to your grandma future studies are still needed, but here are some helpful insights. This is in Entrepreneur magazine this week, talking about lifestyle and really bringing up that same issue that we heard from Dr. Pierre Geoffroy about how, for instance, when you tell, seniors, oh, you should use cannabis, the first thing they think is, oh, I don't know, I can't smoke it. I can't smoke it where I'm at, or I don't want to smoke it. But there's many ways now you can administer cannabis that you don't necessarily have to smoke, even though smoke is best for chronic pain. You may not be in the proper situation, or for instance, with dementia patients, sublinguals or some type of an edible is far easier to administer than any type of even vaping or smoking in particular, fire being a danger. But now we have these amazing tinctures and derivatives that have been, floating around in some form for almost as long as, the cannabis plant has been under prohibition. Rick Simpson's been making the oil, and other people have. And, so this, I'm sure, is just the offshoot of all that. But now we have even in just the amount of time that we utilized it with Chela's mom, from the time of her diagnosis, and we started implementing cannabis and coconut oil. You had to go down to a West Hollywood dispensary where it was one of the only ones that was legal. And you'd have to buy, all they'd have is one big bottle of infused olive oil with an estimate of how many milligrams of THC was in the whole bottle.
No.
No?
There was no estimate.
Wow.
There was no nothing. It was, this is a bottle of infused oil.
Right. Here you go. Good luck. And that's what we did.
So I threw a tablespoon in there.
So now, with this knowledge that's all that, it's like the doctor's like, oh, 1-to-1 tincture. Let's do that. Let's try that. That seems to be the most balanced, seems to give the most benefit. It's, what cultivar is it? We don't really know, but let's just start somewhere. Because, guess what? It's not going to kill anybody, ever.
Definitely.
Cannabis tried to kill some kids again this week. It was unsuccessful. Once again, all released from the hospital after their brownie incident.
Poisoning.
Poisoning, yes. Their laced brownie poisoning incident.
Pot poisoning.
Pot poisoning, yes. Still hasn't
crazy.
We watch the news. I check the news every week. I make sure every time one of these stories comes up, I listen to the whole thing. I read the whole thing. The kids were released from the hospital. It's, of course, because nobody ever dies from cannabis. Not even kids. Now, there's a story this week about a vaping death in Illinois. And we're going to get into that a little bit. Because I'm having conversations with some of my, I have, what do you call, sources. And this topic is not unknown in the unregulated market. This is an issue. This is a problem. Synthetic cannabinoids, fillers, all this stuff going in these things we knew there was going to be problems. And this is what we're seeing. And there is no even definitive answer yet in this story. But back to the seniors, communicating how to get the message across to seniors, to convince them, to let them know that this is medicine. It seems like, the way you convert, the way you communicate it, CBD, THC, let's get sciencey. Let's get sciencey. Let's get fancy tinctures. And not even cops know about tinctures. That's really weird.
It's awesome.
Biggest state.
Great.
The head of
He was one of the main trainers of the drug, what is it? Impairment Task Force. Yeah.
Right.
Who teaches people how to recognize impaired people. I have a picture with my arm around him.
In front of the governor's office. Has no idea.
You're not impaired.
Has no idea.
I know I'm not.
Has no idea what a tincture is.
No idea.
Yeah. I think the seniors are going to, if we can just get past, once you break down that first barrier of propaganda and stigma, and a lot of times it says, look, you don't have to smoke it. Especially in that age group, and folks in facilities, it's not, you can't do it anyway. So, and we have these other options. We have these other delivery methods, and we do have tested, regulated products of good quality that you can go in and get. Now, a lot of those products aren't that great. There's a lot of people that say they'll go buy it and buy stuff. It's like, well, that doesn't do anything for me. I don't, and this is a regulated product. Well, everybody's cannabinoid system, endocannabinoid system is different. You got to find your dose. There's biphasic effect. Is it an isolate? Is it a full spectrum product? You got to experiment, and then there are companies like Papa and Barclays where they provide a good quality product in different dosing options. So you can find your own.
They have a ratio finder.
And I don't think, Canada has this problem too. All these different companies, they put out different ratios and profiles, and there's no consistency. So it's very hard for medical professionals to, first of all, they can't say, go get this product, or to just, to say to someone, you need, a 20 to 1, or, it's hard to do. You can't do it. The patient is so much more involved in this medicine because it is so complicated. As is the body and the endocannabinoid system. It regulates so many systems that you really are your own lab. And luckily, this one's not going to kill you. Now, they put something in it, or they isolate it, really, dramatically, and or make their cannabinoids from, it's just a molecule. I don't buy that. I'm not buying it. And that's where you're seeing any negative aspects. That's where you're seeing it. You're not seeing these negative things with even edibles, really. You get a little high and get a little extra paranoid, but really, you don't, with plants in its natural form, you don't get many of these problems other than first-time users getting, a little too hot. But I guess what I'm saying is it's an amazing time. The fastest growing demographic are the seniors. The most benefit can probably come for seniors with regards to medicinal aspects of the plant, with pain and inflammation and ischemic insults, which we of course know it's been a benefit for many years, forever. All right, moving on from cannabis care and dementia, let's get into a little politics.
Did you talk about Thailand?
Oh, Thailand! Let's go world. We'll stick with the good stories.
Yeah.
Before we get into politics, which is the crazy stories. I did forget about Thailand. Thank you for reminding me about Thailand.
That's why I'm here.
Yay. Because that's top of the list, too, on this week's Cannabis Chronicle. And this has been a developing story. Of course, Thailand has been one of the latest reversals of a prohibition.
Craziness.
Extra craziness. It really goes to show you that, no matter how crazy your prohibition might be and how dramatic your drug war might be, that you can change.
That's right. You
and
can
almost
evolve.
Instantaneously.
You're like on a dime.
Like on a dime. It's like almost like
on a dime bag.
It's almost like when Obama and Bush switched, or rather, Obama and Trump switched presidencies, the media switched on a dime on their coverage, on how they cover the people. But yeah, it's true. Countries can switch on a dime, and you can make policies that are actually beneficial for people. And this is a policy. It gets a little deeper. This article, of course, in Vice this week, Thai state hospitals have started distributing cannabis oils. Those enrolled in the county's Universal Health Scheme can avail of the oils for free. Universal Health Care giving cannabis oil to the people that need it.
Everybody's
free.
moving to Thailand. Everybody in the chat is moving to Thailand
but
right now.
But wait, it gets even better. Because it's still illegal to grow it and stuff, right? Or I don't know the specifics of the law in Thailand, but medical is legal, and I don't think recreational is. So they still bust people. So we go back to this story that's linked in this article. Cannabis oil now available at Thai state hospitals. This is the state. And where are they getting this oil? It's not like they're growing it. Well, I guess maybe they are.
Now
they are. But guess what they did? This one company, let me find it here. Last month, quoting from the article in, this is Coconuts Bangkok.
Hey, the news is from where it is.
This is cannabis oil.
It's a local paper.
Bangkok Time. Coconut. It's like the Coconut Wireless, I guess.
Yes.
So let's find this quote again. Okay, so last month, the Khao Praya I commiserate with Cannabis Sativa trying to read this name now. Some state hospital in the Prachanburi province, home of the kingdom's first medical marijuana clinic, declares plans to distribute upward of 9,000 bottles containing 1.4% THC beginning August 23rd. Here's the rub. This is following the clinical trials. They did clinical trials. See, they even did clinical trials on a dime. They're like, oh, it's prohibited, and then let's test it. Wow, look, clinical trials. It serves some purpose. Great, let's use it. Get it in the state hospitals. Hey, and we don't grow it right now. Where are we going to get it? Well, just so happens 660 kilograms of seized marijuana was provided by the Narcotics Control Board according to chief hospital pharmacist Supaporn Pity Porn. I am not making that name up.
In Thailand.
In Thailand. Is that his porn name?
Whatever.
I don't know. She, Supaporn Pity Porn, says that 660 kilograms of seized marijuana was provided by the Narcotics Control Board, and she is guaranteed the oil would be free of chemical contaminants such as pesticides, including paraquat. Wow, they still use paraquat in Thailand?
Pretty great,
we
right?
sold all of our old paraquat to them, or whatever it came from. So Chela's been talking about that forever, ever since the most recently since the raids began again in California, and the camp raids.
Dude, they never stopped.
They just ramped up. They just ramped up under cover of getting the illegal grows out of the forests, which we are not supporters of.
No.
But go after that. Go to the national forests, clear those out. Spend all your time doing that. We think that's great because there are terrible pesticides they're doing. It's bad news, and that's not but leave the families and the people and the citizens alone. I don't care if they don't have a license. Really. I mean, come on. So that's what they're doing. Under the cover of the forest, clearings of cannabis grows, illegal grows from the cartels. They're also going out to all of these dispensaries, all of these farms that don't have their papers. They're making mistakes. They're almost shredding legal cannabis. You saw that. Legal. They're legal cannabis. Licensed. And you see that even in Murder Mountain. That Netflix documentary following the farm that was getting within this, getting into the Prop 64 groove and getting their papers and becoming legal. The sheriffs literally almost on camera raided their farm, and they said, "Oh, it was a mistake. We're one farm over." So that happens all the time. I'll tell you one thing it's doing, and I don't understand it. Well, I guess I do understand. In some respect, prices are going up. Now, are they directly related? It's directly related in the unregulated market. Unregulated cannabis prices are going up big time, like 30% increase. I'm sure directly related to many of these raids. And dispensary, there's a lot in the afterburn this week. We have a
Really
couple
love
of
the flower
stories.
police.
The power police.
The flower police.
The flower police, yeah. That's hemp. That hemp? Or is that cannabis? Cannabis? Hemp, cannabis. People are realizing it's the same plant, guys.
Oopsie, it's the same thing.
It's the same plant.
I love that, though. I love that people are going, wait, what? Wait, it's the same plant?
Wait, you mean, wait. I thought cannabis and marijuana were different. And now hemp is different?
Huh.
What? So there's another, let's talk about the story. So what else? Anything to say more about the amazing Thai story?
I think I need to go to Thailand.
Well, certainly for a visit, but I don't know. You can go to Waikiki now with your medical marijuana card and go,
we can afford to live in Thailand when we're old.
But I guess we could, yeah. It'd be great Thai food in our retirement for the rest of our lives, which I'm sure it's probably the same thing. Thai food in Thailand is a lot different than Thai food here, right?
But they still use vegetables. Vegetables and white rice, and I'm good.
That's right. Well, that's what I thought. Let's see. We could be off-grid. All this, we just need rice, beans.
Vegetables.
Grow our own vegetables. Like we're growing our own cannabis. Bingus, did you see? Are you still here?
Bingus took off.
Oh, Bingus took off.
Bingus had to go.
Thanks, Bingus.
But he was very productive when he was here.
Yes, he was.
He was very kind.
Indeed. But definitely the grow is happening. We've got the Skittles and the Skywalker babies in the nursery under 24-hour light, trying to keep it moist, not overwatered, and they don't seem to be too heat stressed, even though it does seem to be a little dry and hot in there because it's out on our patio. It's not actually inside, so we do have to deal with that. We buy a $139 air conditioner for a little tent. We're going to see how they do. This is our big experiment grow. This is our first grow. 2 babies, 2 toddlers, between two herbs. They are outside all the time, except for during the show. So you're watching us grow, which is kind of cool and exciting. Apparently we're, California, I guess we have to be fortunate with our 6-plant limit. At least they're allowing, the state tyrants are allowing 6 plants per household as a state law. But then forget local jurisdiction. They become more tyrannical as you get lower down in your jurisdiction. In 80% of California, it is illegal to basically grow cannabis outdoors and indoors if you can smell it. So, is it legal? Not really. Not really. It's regulated and it's taxed, but it's not legal by any stretch of the imagination. Talking about legality, and you don't have to imagine much to realize that this is a true story. Of course, Chela, they were super excited in New York, and they weren't going to arrest people for cannabis anymore. And I guess that's true in some respects. But those that were, guess what? Nearly every single person arrested for weed in New York City this year was black or Latinx.
No kidding. Shocked.
Shocked.
There's gambling in Casablanca.
Surprise, surprise. This in the Queens Daily Eagle. So the more things change, the more things stay the same. That little tidbit coming out of Queens Eagle. And let's talk Washington a little bit. We do have, we're going to have a little audio clip in the afterburn of one of these White House drug officials. Apparently, this is coming out of Marijuana Moment. Kyle Yeager writing over there this week. White House drug officials say legal marijuana is up to the states. And they are referencing 2 such officials. Let's see. Jim Carroll, Trump-appointed drug czar who directs the administration's drug policies. Kayla Sullivan reported, got the answer. He believes it should be left to the state. However, he does not want to educate people on the effect, or he does want to educate people on the effect of marijuana has on young brain development. Well, then he's going to tell them that it doesn't have an effect on young brain development. Because that's what the latest science says. Is that, it doesn't actually affect brain development. So I'm sure that's the information that he wants transmitted. I'm sure. And then the other official was Ann Hazlitt, senior advisor at ONDCP, which is the oversight and reform, whatever drug group that is. But she basically says that recreational marijuana legalization is a state decision. We'll have video of that in the afterburn. But so does that, Chela, you were prospecting that maybe that might bode well for the States Act.
Yeah.
Trump has already indicated he would possibly support that. Is that not the case?
Yes.
Barring Cory Gardner's a possible departure in 2020, because he's, of course, going after Hickenlooper. I think this whole get in the presidency, it's to stop Bernie, split the votes. 2, it's to set yourself up to run for higher office in your state. And I wish Beto would just figure that out sooner rather than later, along with everybody else. But Hickenlooper, of course, running for Senate against Cory Gardner, one of the co-authors and co-sponsors of the States Act, along with Elizabeth Warren, which was strange, but I don't know how far that's going to go if Warren ends up anywhere on the ticket. But we'll see. Blumenauer, and we're going to play that in the afterburn. Maybe actually, since we're on this, we're in Washington right now, talking about politics and talking about the White House and their stance. We're going to get into Congress here. Briefly, let's talk about the presidential candidates. Bernie, of course, dropping another huge one this week. Bernie dropping another huge policy program idea. He of course said he was going to basically deschedule cannabis by executive order, which, gee, there seems to be some confusion about whether or not that can be done, because Obama certainly didn't do it, and some of the scientists we've talked to don't think that can be done that way, but hey, maybe it can. But I think Yang also stated that this week, and of course, Buttigieg, he also wants to decriminalize all drugs. Taking it up a notch, trying to, I don't know, who's he pandering to? The progressives. I guess everybody's pandering to progressives now. Cannabis 2020, it is the issue. It's certainly one of the top issues.
Just like you said.
Just like I said. A lot of people said it, but we knew it was going to be. It's a crossover issue. It's the crossover issue.
Pretty sure we were among the first who said it.
No, yeah, I mean, well, certainly on this show.
on this show, we were definitely the first.
But essentially, we knew it was going to be a big issue because it was a big issue for Michigan in 2018. It was 2018 they voted on that? When did they vote? Yeah, 2018, right? And that brought people out. And Michael Moore said that. He said, if you want to bring people, you got to get issues on the ballot that'll bring people to the polls. Cannabis gets people to the polls. It wins it out. In Oklahoma, cannabis got more votes than any politician.
That's pretty rad, right?
And the best damn little medical marijuana law in the country even gets better and better this week. They're just making it better in Oklahoma. Challenging Florida to be one of the top, faster and faster, getting more and more patients. Who knew? Who knew all those people in conservative Oklahoma are users of all of a sudden now just decided, because obviously they weren't using it before this time. This is all new, right? Nobody smokes cannabis in Oklahoma.
Yo, people smoke cannabis everywhere. One of my friends was saying, "Oh, Chela, I'm going to Tennessee and I want to bring my sister, some stuff." I said, "No, absolutely not. Do not do that. Get that locally." And she's like, "They don't have it in Tennessee." Of course they have it in Tennessee. They have cannabis everywhere in the world, yo. Everywhere.
Probably much safer, too, than transporting it.
Yeah, never, ever transport cannabis. Ever. Get it where you land.
Particularly when you go to places that have it readily available. But it's like in Colorado. You can buy it, sure. Come visit Colorado. It's like Wanda James said in her, come visit Colorado, then become a criminal, because when you're out in the world smoking it, you're breaking the law. So it's funny, and they're making tons of money. Apparently not as much. It's the greed in this industry. It's slowing. The greed is keeping the unregulated market in existence and flourishing. And I'm not just talking about corporate cannabis greed. I'm talking about government greed. Taxes is keeping the unregulated market flourishing and will continue to flourish. They really should have done a tax holiday. They really, when you're starting you really should just, the taxes will come. The money will come. But you want to get people out of an unregulated market into a regulated market? Give the people licenses that already have licenses. They should have just licensed everybody in California that had a Prop D or, a collective. They should have just given everybody a provisional license to sell adult regulated cannabis, to sell cannabis. Get your lab and, your testing requirements in order. But basically should give everybody a license. And then, lo and behold, guess what? Everybody's in a regulated market and paying taxes, and they've got licenses. And then you change, then you update the laws, just like they're doing in Oklahoma and other places. You update the laws, you make them better. You're like, okay, guys, we need to work on packaging. Let's work with this. And they're already doing it. The unregulated market is getting just as sophisticated as the regulated market. Now we have a problem with really bad players, including additives. I heard about something this week. There's a story, it's in the Chronicle. You've probably all heard it, about the vaping illnesses that have been happening across the country. A couple hundred of them, I think. mostly young-ish men going to the hospital with respiratory problems, damage, permanent damage in some respects. They of course have actually no idea what's causing it. The only link being that it is vaporized something in a vaporizing device, but they don't really know what is causing it. And they're, of course, the first at the top of everybody's list in the media is THC. Well, it's a lot of them are doing THC. So that's, of course, the go-to. Now, are there some people vaping THC and putting weird stuff in pods and adding things? Yes, there are. It turns out China is actually selling that stuff. Not only are folks putting not only are folks putting PG, VG, this was all the flavoring and stuff that's used in the nicotine vape pens, vape cartridges with nicotine, all that stuff.
That shit'll kill you.
Is nobody knows what that does to you. You cannot vape MCT oil. You cannot vape coconut oil. It's bad for you, right?
Yes.
You cannot vape coconut oil. So all of this stuff. Now, this stuff from China. Now, this isn't a story about this. This is a story in the New York Times in the Chronicle. The first death in a spate of vaping sicknesses reported by health officials. And this happened in Illinois. And there's a video in the Afterburn this week that talks about this a little bit. But here's what this says. Many patients, including some in Illinois, have acknowledged vaping THC, the high-inducing chemical in marijuana, according to statements from federal and state agencies. But officials don't know whether the ailments have been caused by marijuana-type products, e-cigarettes, or some type of street concoction that was vaped, or whether a contaminant or defective device may have been involved. Now, they talk about some possibilities with that. It was talked about in the news and the media, and cannabis media picked it up as well, that some vape cartridges are using lead, have lead in it. Guess what happens when you vape lead? Not good. Not good. Also, just heard about, now Dank was the brand that was brought up in the stories previous about this, that people are getting their vaping cartridges called a Dank brand called Dank, and they're buying it off the street or buying it somewhere, and it's really cheap, and that's what's causing the problems. Well, yeah, if you're buying a vape cartridge for $5, I'm pretty sure, first of all, you're probably not getting any cannabis or very little THC in it. And you're not getting a decent cartridge either, because you can't even buy a decent vape cartridge for like $2.50.
You gotta know your suppliers. So you gotta know what's going on.
Just like knowing your grower, just like we've been doing it for years before this tax and regulate deal, you gotta know your grower and know where you're getting your stuff. You gotta know what's going into your vape cartridges. Now, is that an argument for regulation? I suppose it is.
It is an argument for regulation, because the people, now that it's legal or regulated, the capitalists rushing in to make money on this cash crop might be trying to cut corners in order to do so. Whereas in the unregulated market, traditionally, you had to keep things clean, because that's how you kept good customers. Because there was no advertising, there was no promoting your business through regular commercials and stuff. It's all word of mouth, and you're only a good business person through word of mouth if you have a high quality product. So they kept it good and clean and didn't use pesticides and didn't make people sick. And now that everything is moving forward in the regulated market, you have to regulate the market so that the people looking to jump in to make tons of money are keeping it real, or keeping it the way it was intended and what we built it on.
Well, I think this basically, it just adds to the argument of decriminalization, descheduling, end prohibition. Give people licenses to grow good medical cannabis, to study, to sell. Now, we would love to be able to. We're gonna show a video here coming up at 5:30 right now, actually, we'll play it right now because we're going to do a revolutionary.
Oh my God,
spotlight.
it's already 5:20.
I know. We were like, we don't have any real video to show this week. We're going to have to talk for an hour.
Well, we can. Why don't we put that video in the afterburn
I will.
instead?
I'm going to put it in the afterburn. We're going to watch. This is we speak of a video from Flo Kana. They're doing a documentary series on basically knowing your grower, on knowing knowing the source of your cannabis.
Always know your source. Always.
That's the way we've done it in the black market. And here's another tip: don't buy a vape cartridge for $5.
No.
It's just not. I guarantee it's not going to be healthy for you. Now here's the story about China and what they're doing. Here. Know your source. China sells this stuff. It's an oil. Looks exactly, vapes exactly like cannabis oil. You can't tell it apart if you take a bottle of cannabis oil and this stuff. That stuff's like $200 a liter, and it's like 1/10 the price, 1/20th the price. And they're taking a liter of cannabis oil and a liter of this stuff, and they're mixing it together for profit and greed. And that's what they're going to find is causing these problems. Guess what's the most effective way to get health benefits of cannabis? At least relieve pain and get immediate effects for PTSD and many other ailments? Smoke cannabis. Flower. Grow your own. Know your source. If you're new to the game, don't buy your CBD or your vape cartridge at a liquor store. Probably not a good idea.
Or like Cynical Girl is saying, don't eat gas station sushi.
Gas station sushi, gas station CBD, and vape cartridges. Not a good idea. Same. Now,
be your own source, Jilly Love says.
Be your own source.
That's right.
We're gonna, these two guys over here, these two girls right here, Skunk and Green Crack. This is the outdoor experiment for the late in the season. Got the girls, Blue Skittles and Skywalker out in the nursery. Those girls we're gonna veg those suckers until they're big and they don't fit in that box anymore. And then we're gonna flower them probably outside. We'll just take them outside because it's it's Southern California. You can flower stuff pretty late into winter. So I think that's the plan for them. And then we're gonna keep vegging in there. We're gonna keep creating stuff. I want to get a cycle going and next summer we want to have 6 big ones out here in our yard.
Big ones.
So that's the goal. That's the goal for this Reefer Revolution here in California, where they thank you, masters for providing us the liberty to grow 6 plants of a weed that can grow everywhere and in prolific numbers, and could be basically we should be able to grow our tomatoes and our cucumbers and our stuff and our cannabis and our beans and take them all to the farmers market and sell them all together. That's what we should be able to do, and that's that you'll one of the farmers talks about that in this Flo Kana documentary. And so to wrap up some other stories in this week's news, let's talk a little bit about Florida briefly, because we have Florida in the house. Dr. Biscuit and
Dr. Barry.
And Dr. Barry in the house.
It's Dr. McKenzie.
Dr. McKenzie.
Biscuit is so cute.
Yeah. Dr. Mike and Dr. Barry. He likes Dr. Mike. But talking of Florida, we spoke about legalization efforts. And I Am Cannabis Sativa. Check out his podcast and the YouTube channel. New YouTube channel. I don't know if he's jumped in yet tonight. Have you seen him in the chat? But he's got a great video this week on this new industry-backed marijuana legalization measure in Florida. Yeah, you know what they were doing up in New York, right? MedMen was lobbying the recreation. That's 2 reasons. One of the reasons why you don't have recreation in New York yet is the social equity aspect was missing. And what was going to happen, and probably will still happen, is you're not going to get home grow. MedMen is lobbying, and all the other corporations, cannabis corporations, are lobbying against home grow. Why? It's you can't sell something if somebody's growing it. How are they gonna? People don't buy tomatoes.
Nobody buys tomatoes.
Nobody buys tomatoes.
If you can grow tomatoes, why would you buy tomatoes?
Why would you buy tomato if you can grow tomatoes? I mean, come on. So they have to limit home grow. And that's exactly what this law is going to do. The one, this ballot initiative that is industry backed. It's called the MILF Bill. Make It Legal Florida, a political committee that was registered earlier this month and is chaired by Nick Hansen, MedMen's Director of Government Affairs in the Southeast U.S., filed the 2020 ballot initiative on August 6th. There's probably going to be more than one ballot initiative. Does that work that way in Florida? Because there's another one that's a good one. So you don't want MILF. You don't want Make It Legal Florida bill. That's not the one you want. Don't sign that petition. To qualify, they have to gather 766,000 valid signatures. Sign the other one. Now, I guess we should. Cannabis Sativa mentioned the other one. I don't think it's mentioned. Let me see if it's in this. But basically, no home grow in the MILF Make It Legal Florida bill. So don't. They have 80,000 signatures. They got a long way to go. We're going to find out the name of the other one. I thought it was in here. But talk about why lists and home grow are two of our real bugaboos.
If you don't have home grow, it's not legal. And lists of tyranny are insane because cannabis helps so many different things that medical community doesn't even know all the things that it can do. And if a doctor or if an educated doctor thinks that cannabis might be helpful for a condition, they should be free to prescribe it. So if a doctor is not free to prescribe it, and if you cannot grow your own, it is not legal. Somebody said to me this week, because we were talking about where you can smoke and where you can't smoke and blah, blah. They were saying, oh, well, it's legal. You can smoke anywhere. No, you cannot. I personally can smoke where any cigarette smoker can smoke because I have a medical cannabis card in California. If you have a medical cannabis card in California, you can smoke where other people are allowed to smoke cigarettes. However, if you don't have a medical card in California, you are not allowed to smoke outside of your home, your private property, or in the very few consumption lounges that do exist. There are a few in San Francisco. One is opening here in September. We're very excited about it, even though it's MedMen owned. The Lowell Cafe. I'm not exactly sure how that works, too. The Lowell was bought by MedMen, and I'm not sure if the Lowell Cafe is sort of a separate thing, or if it is ultimately owned by MedMen. We're going to have to find that out, aren't we?
They're doing a lot of good, or trying to.
Lowell,
yeah.
Yeah.
Cafe, yeah, and Lowell. I think Lowell is a MedMen company.
I'm pretty sure Lowell is a MedMen company, like all the way through.
And let me clarify.
It's very confusing.
I've alleviated my confusion with regards to these two bills. One is Make It Legal Florida will be competing against at least one other campaign that's working to legalize cannabis in Florida.
Dr. Barry says Regulate Florida is the one to support.
Regulate Florida.
Regulate
so
Florida.
Sensible Florida is bullshit.
Yep.
And Make It Legal Florida. Or no, Make It Legal is Sensible Florida.
Dr. Barry, maybe Dr. Barry or Dr. Biscuit can... Dr. Barry, Dr. Mike could clear that up.
So what's the one she said?
Regulate Florida.
Regulate Florida
is the one to support.
Okay. Because I think there's two. So I think that might even be a third one.
Oh,
I don't think they didn't even talk about Regulate Florida in this article. Okay, so I see Regulate Florida's website. Let's Grow Green in 2020. Sign the petition to allow adult use. All right, so this is the one we want, guys, per our expert Florida people, our Florida doctors, big doctors, two very big doctors, ears, eyes, nose, and throat. Well, they're general practice, so they must cover those, right? But here, let me bring this up. Here is the webpage, regulateflorida.com. You can sign the petition there. Let's get that one. That's the one to support per the good folks that know what's going on. The corporate-controlled one, make it legal Florida. Do not sign that petition. They all need 766,000, and I'm not sure where they are with Regulate Florida's petition. But if you're in Florida and you come across that one, that's the one to sign. And if they all, who knows how many are going to end up on the ballot. Well, that will be a whole nother one. Don't vote for this one, vote for that one. Oh my God, I voted for the wrong one. I hate it when that happens because California's a ballot initiative state too, and that often happens. They'll get competing ballots initiatives, and then all of a sudden the commercials start to make as much confusion as possible.
Cannabis Sativa says he doesn't think the third one has any real legs.
And is that the...
Dr. Barry Gordon, Regulate Florida and Floridians for Freedom are both good, but only Regulate has met Supreme Court review.
All right. There you go.
Regulate Florida.
Welcome, Cannabis Sativa. I liked your podcast this week. It's a tarp. It's a trap. It is. No home grow, no go. If no home grow is allowed, it is not legal. That's bottom line. And it is just a greedy, because as they know from history, nobody buys tomatoes anymore. Once they let people grow them, people stop buying tomatoes. It's not even the tomato industry hardly exists anymore.
That's right.
So we know what happens.
They are pennies, though. I mean, there is that.
Hey, pot for pennies. What a novel idea.
That's the thing.
You think if it was $50 a pound, do you think the cartel would be growing in the forest, destroying our natural habitats? Probably not. And I'll bet you people would still make a bunch of money. I'll bet you. And our society would be a hell of a lot better, too. And you know what else is going to make our society better? There's another plant out there that seems to be making the rounds. That's hemp.
Hemp.
Another plant. What do you mean hemp's cannabis? What do you mean hemp's marijuana? What do you mean I can't arrest anybody anymore? I have to laugh. Every story this week from every state about Texas, Ohio. Who else? Several states have accidentally decriminalized cannabis in Teen Vogue.
I love Teen Vogue's coverage of interesting things.
It was in a couple of stories this week in the Chronicle, but Teen Vogue, or in the news, but we decided to go with Teen Vogue's coverage.
Yeah.
Texas, Florida, and Ohio are among the states that may have accidentally decriminalized marijuana. An unintended consequence of hemp legalization has left law enforcement scrambling as pot cases get dropped. We saw some videos last week in the Afterburn, and this is continuing to go on. They are flummoxed. Quick, get us a test. We need a test right away. See how things can happen fast when they want to be able to arrest people? Boy, when they want to put people in jail, they sure figure out ways to make things happen, like come up with a quick test, a roadside test that you can test the difference between how much THC is in a plant. Really? Wow. So so there you go, guys. It's the same plant? Are you serious?
I love that. I love that now everybody's starting to talk about that. Wait a minute, what?
What are you talking about?
What?
I'm growing.
It makes people think.
There's a story in the Afterburn this week. The farmer's like,
we should get into the Afterburn, babe.
Let's do this. Let's show the. I will venture to show this PBS one too. Should I show this PBS one?
Do you want to close this and then move on?
Let's do it. Let's get into the Afterburn because we got some good stories, and it's coming up. It's 5:30.
It's beyond time.
It's beyond the time to get into the burn.
We gotta go.
Let's get into the burn because we've got some good videos. Medical marijuana program in Louisiana. It's up to 5,000 patients. That's in the Chronicle this week. What else? Taxes suck all over, and they're all different everywhere. Meanwhile, in science, as we mentioned, medical flower offers more pain relief than other cannabis products study finds. That's a marijuana moment. Also, reporting at Yahoo, study on cannabis chemical as a treatment for pancreatic cancer may have major impact. Harvard researcher says. There's some of that science nobody knows, doesn't think we have. More research that we need. Do we need more research?
Yes.
Of course we do.
Always.
Always. And guess what that research finds?
Cannabis helps everything.
Cannabis helps everything, and dementia in particular. Certainly with no end in sight. There's no reason.
Medicine is very slow to adopt new things.
That's right.
For those who are in desperate circumstances, who are dying, who have dementia, you can't wait for medicine to give you the blessing with a plant that has never killed anybody.
True story. Also over in the Chronicle, as we wrap up the first part of the show. Wrong link. Hold on. Over in the media section, you can check out the interview with Dr. Mike McKenzie. That's got a link right in there, as well as a new video, the complete video of Dr. Sue Sicily from Microscopes and Machines, the challenge and promise of cannabis research into PTSD. Certainly challenging indeed, as we wait for the DEA to come out with their response to the court of Dr. Sue Sicily's Scottsdale Research Institute's lawsuit. Why can't I grow my own cannabis to study? Why are there 24 applications sitting on your desk and you're not doing anything? Why? The court wants to know. And they've got about, I think maybe 10 more days, 2 weeks tops to come up with a response. So we'll be reporting on that very soon indeed. Okay, guys, that's the first hour. We're going to wrap it up, get into the afterburn. Stick around. We will be right back. You might need to refresh.
I need to refresh.
We need to refresh. Get a little libation, some sweets, spark up another joint.
I forgot the water.
Take a smoke break, whatever you got to do to activate your endocannabinoid
thanks for subscribing,
system.
Denise.
Thank you for your subscription. Subscribe, get notifications. Hit that thumbs up before we end this part of the show, because it will be a new video coming up. So hit that thumbs up if you're so inclined. And we will be right back with the Afterburn, where we go into the MST 420 theater, hotboxing the mainstream media and their coverage of marijuana from coast to coast. See you in a couple minutes. Free the plant, free the people. Pot for peace.